Hurricane Ian expected to create a crunch on oil and gas supplies in Florida. Gulf Coast oil terminals may be damaged. Many gas stations are either out of fuel or destroyed, and more people need gas for generators. But for the second day in a row, the president had a warning for the industry.
I also want to say again to the oil and gas executives, do not use this storm as an excuse to raise gasoline prices or gouge the American public. The price of oil has dropped in recent weeks. The price of gas should be going down as rapidly.
But oil companies say the accusations are unfounded. Does inserting fuel politics into a natural disaster help anybody? President Biden joining me now to break it down is Power the Future Executive Director, Daniel Turner. And Daniel, I'm so glad I have you tonight to talk about this, because he's accusing oil and gas companies of waving a magic wand and changing the price of products, right? And really what will happen essentially is, because supplies are going to be tight as a result of this natural disaster, the futures market is going to bid oil, the underlying price of oil per barrel, higher, and that impacts the price of gasoline at the pump. That is why you may see an increase. There is no price gouging going on currently. But having said that, the accusation is unfounded. It's like he thinks the CEO of Exxon waves a magic wand and decides what he wants the price to be.
And it's really frustrating. You know, it's frustrating to hear the president talk about this industry with more disdain than he speaks about communist China or Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden saves his truest and deepest anger and resentment towards those industries and those people who he thinks are not aligned to his philosophy and his beliefs. And oil and gas is the top of that list. Not only is his ignorance about pricing and market controls made explicit by these comments, but he's talking about oil companies and gas prices as if that's the same industry, and it's not. The amount of steps that go between extracting crude and pumping gas in your car are multiple. And so the fact that he even just conflates the two and calls them the same thing, he doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. And on behalf of this industry that will bring Florida back online, right, and that will save lives in Florida, I'm just so damn tired of the president talking about us with such anger and disdain, because we're the backbone of this nation's economy.
Yeah, it's clear that he doesn't understand. And I think that's a great point that you make. And with respect to the gas stations, they're actually working on very slim margins. They have to work through their inventory. They buy the gas in bulk. If the price was higher, they sell it at a higher price until they work through it. If the price was lower or the next shipment is lower, that's when they bring the price down. It doesn't work the way he thinks it works. But it's so interesting because the vitriol that he expressed towards the fossil fuel industry in this country really comes from his very progressive left climate change agenda. It was evident in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, allocating all these funds to try to go green overnight. But it's really going to be a problem in this country if we try to do it so quickly. You know, you've got an administration, you've got a lot of media on the left, Dan, also saying that, oh, this storm was as a result of, or the intensity of it was as a result of climate change. That's the narrative that they're trying to construct here.
Yeah, and climate change is the perfect foil, right? Because regardless of what happens in the world, you can blame it on climate change. If there's a lot of rain, climate change. Not enough rain, it's climate change. If you're a governor like Gavin Newsom and you don't have any forest management program in place, every time your state catches on fire, you blame climate change, right? But here's something that can withstand hurricanes is the fossil fuel industry, right? Coal plants are back online. Natural gas plants and nuclear plants are back online. Ask the Biden administration, and I've made this point repeatedly because it needs to be said, ask the Biden administration when Florida is 100% green, which he is mandating by law, how will those wind farms and those solar farms withstood a Category 5? What will happen to Florida? What will happen to the country when tornadoes hit with these wind farms? When heavy snows hit these solar farms, right? So fossil fuels can withstand a hurricane, and mankind can. The green industry cannot. And if you have a Tesla right now and you're trying to power it to get groceries, I tell you what, without power you can't do it.
Right.
But with gas, you can get in your truck and drive anywhere.
And that was part of the problem. We brought it up with the congressman. People trying to evacuate as well, having difficulty with electric vehicles, charging stations, battery issues as well. We're just not ready to make this transition that they want to make. They want to try to do it overnight. And Dan, let me ask you, even if we did do that as a country, we went green and everybody was driving an electric vehicle, China's still polluting, India's still polluting, we've still got problems across the globe. I mean, if the intensity of the storm was caused as a result of climate change, it would not stop overnight.
No, it wouldn't. And we have to stop using climate change as an excuse for reality and for Mother Nature. Just before I came on the show, I tweeted a photo from my hometown of Breezy Point, New York. My parents lost their house. My Uncle Bob, who was a congressman at the time, lost his house. My brother Paul, my cousins, numerous friends and family all lost their homes when Hurricane Sandy hit. Right?
Sandy
that was tragic, and it was devastating, and we rebuilt. But it wasn't climate change, right? The entire eastern seaboard of the United States is shaped the way it's shaped. That big swoop from Florida to North Carolina is millions of years of hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. Nature is not going to change. And any politician who tells you that if you give them power, they can control nature, that person is power hungry, and that person is a threat, and that person is your enemy. And any politician telling people, vote for me and I will stop hurricanes, that person is a liar and a threat to your freedom, and you need to defeat that person.
And that person is lying and essentially telling voters that he's God, and it's not possible. Daniel, great to see you as always. So much that we could talk about. Always love getting your insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Coming up, the state of Florida dealing with the aftermath of a catastrophe, and now night has fallen. We've got